Hey everybody, this is Bob Kovacs here at Wirefly with a short review of the ZTE Fury for Sprint. The ZTE Fury, I believe, is the first phone from ZTE on a major carrier in the US. It's called the ZTE Fury, and it is basically, let's think of it as an affordable phone. So this is a phone that's going to end up being very low cost, and in many cases it's probably going to be free from Wirefly. I can't say that for sure. I don't know what the price is going to be, so don't call up Wirefly and say, hey, Bob on YouTube said that it was free. All I know is for sure it's going to be affordable. So the ZTE Fury is an affordable phone for Sprint. So let's do this review in the spirit of the ZTE Fury being an affordable phone. Let's start off with some of the basic features of the Fury. To begin with, it has a 1 gigahertz single-core processor and 512 megabytes of processor RAM. Those are reasonably good numbers. It has uses the Android 2.3.6 operating system. That's a very good version of Android. This is a 3.5-inch diagonal LCD display with a resolution of 320 by 480 pixels. Now, ZTE and Sprint is saying that this display uses what's known as in-plane switching technology, IPS technology. In theory, that should make the display look better when you're off-axis. I don't really see it with this display. It's definitely an LCD display. They're saying it's an LCD display with IPS technology. Now this has 4 gigabytes of onboard storage for your files. That's things like music and videos and photos. And it also comes out of the box with a 2 gigabyte micro SD card for extra storage. Of course, you can put up to a 32 gigabyte card in that micro SD slot if you really need to expand the storage. Now the Fury is a 3G phone. It is not a 4G phone. So it just connects to Sprint's CDMA 3G network. It's a nationwide network, and it can get you pretty decent download speeds, but not in the same sort of ballpark that 4G will get you. Now, looking around the phone, it has a 5 megapixel still image camera. It can shoot video, but pretty low resolution video. As best I can figure out, the best video I could get from the Fury was 240 by 320 pixel. That's 240 by 320 pixel, and only at 12 frames. And I'll have a playback of that video a little later on in this review. So definitely not even DVD quality video that this phone can make. It's really something well below that. Really not even as good as decent quality standard definition video. Now the ZTE Fury uses Sprint's ID. That's this little symbol down here, the ID symbol, and uses Sprint's ID. So you can quickly set up the Fury to show different setups if you want. For instance, if you have a work setup and then you have a home setup, you can use the Sprint ID to quickly populate your display with the sort of things you use at work, and then touch it again and you can do the sort of things you do at home. That's the Sprint ID right there. I was going to take a little tour around the phone, and I got hung up here on the camera. Notice that there's an LED flash. There's also a funny little mirror here. This is a little convex mirror, and you can use that to help position yourself in the shot. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Not too many phones do that with their cameras nowadays. The Fury has a dedicated camera button. I like that. Up on top is the on-off and sleep button right there. This is a standard 3.5 millimeter audio jack. On this side, you've got the volume up-down rocker and the standard micro USB port for charging and data interchange. Underneath the cover is a 1500 milliamp hour battery. And let me go ahead and peel the cover off. There you can see the battery. Here is the 2 gigabyte micro SD card that I mentioned earlier. Now this is a Sprint phone. It uses Sprint's CDMA network. So there is no SIM card required. There's no slot for a SIM card. You can't use this phone wherever you need to use a SIM card because it is a CDMA phone and not a GSM phone. So there you go. At least you can get to the micro SD card without having to pop the battery out. Some phones you have to take the battery out to get to the micro SD card. So let's start talking about some of the performance and features that come with the phone. Now it's got 5 Android pages here. It runs Android 2.3.6 as I mentioned. 5 pages, they are all empty here, so there's plenty of room to load your apps and games and whatever you want. Let's go ahead and take a look at the camera. So this is the camera on the Fury. Now if you touch the screen, it comes up with a very convenient exposure control. Let's go ahead and get that back on the display here. And that's pretty darn nice. So you can pretty conveniently adjust the exposure, whatever you've got here. I think it's actually a little higher than I want. That's a little more like it right there. Now I went ahead and took some pictures with the ZTE Fury. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pictures that I shot with the ZTE Fury. Now, first of all, I like to shoot a still life on my desk, so I went ahead and set up that still life, and you can see this is what it did with the still life. Not good, not bad. The contrast is okay. I've seen better contrast. I've seen worse. So it's probably about average. This is a 5 megapixel camera, and the clarity, the focus is all right. Nothing special. This is probably about average results for a cell phone camera. I like to do a flesh tone shot. Now, you can't see them very well, but that's Ricardo on the left and Lauren on the right. Now, I deliberately set this up as a very difficult thing for a cell phone camera to handle. I set it up with a bright light behind them, and then I forced the flash on, hoping that the flash will fill the faces and you can see the faces. And unfortunately, the ZTE Fury could not handle that at all. It was completely flummoxed by the rear light, and turning on the flash didn't really help, so their faces were very dark. So I turned them around and had them facing away from the window, and of course, again, that's Lauren on the left and Ricardo on the right, and it worked a lot better this way. So the Fury just could not handle a strong backlight. Pretty much every other cell phone camera that I've dealt with could handle that backlight okay, but not this one. But overall, the focus is decent, and the contrast is good. Once I got them away from the window without having the bright light behind them, the flesh tone looked pretty darn good. I also went out and shot some video. Now again, this is pretty low resolution video. It's 240 by 320 pixel video, and it's only 12 frames per second. So this, as far as I could tell, is the best quality video that the Fury can shoot. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. This is video from the ZTE Fury for Sprint, and that's a beautiful blue sky here on the Wirefly campus. It's an early spring day. It's the end of March, but we've had such beautiful weather that everything is greening up fast. That's the Wirefly building right there. Now I'm holding the phone probably about 8 inches or so from my mouth. Curious to see how the sound sounds with the ZTE Fury. I'm also not sure about exactly what the video quality level is. They have rather obscure terms here to describe the video quality, so I don't know if it's standard definition or high definition or 720p or 480p or something else. So I guess we will find in a minute once we check the video here and the audio from the ZTE Fury for Sprint. Now, the audio from that was actually pretty good, but the video was really, it has video. If you're going to use it to shoot something very casual, it's okay. I would not want this to be the only camera that you have at your disposal to shoot your baby's first steps or anything important like that. So it does make video, but that's about the most that you can say for it. Let's come back and talk about some of the other features of the phone. Actually, what I want to do right now is run a benchmark test. Let's go ahead and run the latest version of the Quadrant benchmark test. Now, this is the latest version. It's a free download from what used to be called the Android market. Now it's called Google Play. There we go. While it's running, I'm going to turn the camera off, and we'll come back and pick it up when it's ready to wrap up. This is the last of the graphics tests that are part of the Quadrant suite of tests, and I definitely do want to get the results. And okay, here's what it says. Now here's a variety of devices. Here is the ZTE Fury. It says it got a score of 1,618. That's 1618. Now overall, that's a pretty good score for a single processor phone, a single core processor phone. And one reason why it has a good score is because of the relatively low resolution display. The 320 by 480 display has fewer pixels to move around than a phone that's a step up from the ZTE Fury. A phone that's got 480 by 800 pixels has a lot more pixels to move around on the screen, and that takes a lot more processing power. So the Fury doesn't have to give so much of its processing power to the display, and it can concentrate on doing some other stuff, and that helps to boost the score. So that overall is actually a pretty good score on the quadrant benchmark. Let's go ahead and talk about the size of the Fury. You see what its size is like compared to a credit card. Of course, if you'd like to rack up some charges, be sure you tell them that your name is your name here. I'm sure that won't be a problem. And the Fury weighs 5 ounces, which is actually, I'm not saying it's a heavy phone. 5 ounces is not heavy. But 5 ounces is more than you might think a phone like this would weigh. Because some other phones with bigger displays weigh less. For instance, the big phone on Sprint is the Samsung Epic 4G Touch, and heck, that weighs something like 4.6 ounces, and it's got a much larger display than this. It fits in the hand well. It's not particularly slippery or anything like that. I think it'll do just fine. It weighs a little bit more than you might think for a phone with a 3.5-inch display. Finally, I want to point out that this does not have a front-facing camera. So if you're hoping to use the ZTE Fury for video chat, it has a rear camera, of course, but no front-facing camera. So it's not going to be a convenient phone for doing video chat. Now let's talk about how the ZTE Fury falls into Sprint's phone lineup. Now Sprint has some other low-cost / affordable phones, such as the Samsung Conquer and the LG Marquee, and both of those compete pretty strongly against the ZTE Fury. If you're getting into your first Android phone, you're on Sprint, and you want a starter phone, or you want to get a phone for your young teen, and you don't want to break the bank in getting it or give them something that's going to be really desirable and / possibly stealable, the Fury is a good choice, as is the Conquer and the LG Marquee. So take a look at all 3 of those phones and see which one fits your needs the best. So overall, the ZTE Fury is a competent phone, not particularly exciting. It is affordable, so I don't want to compare it against a much more advanced phone like the Samsung Epic 4G Touch. It's really not fair to do something like that. This is not intended to compete against a phone like that. So against the phones that it competes, it's pretty solid, and I think you need to look among the competitors there to see which one works for you. And of course, if you want to get the Fury or any other phone, why not give Wirefly a try? Wirefly is your cell phone superstore at your door, and we have great prices, good service, and of course we have videos like this to help you make a choice. So hey everybody, I'm Bob Kovacs here at Wirefly. Thanks for watching.